Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, what a day in the market. I mean, boy, we started off just rocking it up, stocks breaking out, which we talked about yesterday and everything. But again, as I just told members, what does the market love more than anything? Cliffhangers, just like a soap opera, right? And so, why is that? What do we have tomorrow? PPI. So, we got inflation data coming out, and that bar has been set very low. So, we'll get into that in this video, and I'll show that to you. But again, you just had, the mega caps breaking out, but something else actually happened today, and I want to be curious to see if you actually noticed it or not, because it rarely has happened in the last probably 2 years. And so I'll talk to you about that. But I will say, one of our members shared this real quick with you, and just, it's unfortunately as sad as war is, this right here shows you, and I've showed you a chart many months ago about this. But it isn't a war or a conflict that's going to drive the stock market down, not unless, maybe they're invading us. But, that just kind of shows you what I'm talking about with that. Now, of course, we did have NFIB small business optimism come out here. And you can see, the general conditions, the optimism, it is in the toilet. It hadn't been at levels like this since we saw since '08. And again, why would they be optimistic? The rates are so high, right, for the financing they're trying to get. If they can even find financing with the regional banks and so much of a mess right now. And if you happen to own a small business where you employ, quite a few people, let us know what you think. Is it looking up? You seeing business pick up or not? Is it hard to find financing? That's what I'm really curious about. Now, another thing to keep a close eye on here is what the bond market is expecting. And obviously they are pricing in defaults for commercial properties. Why do we think that? Because the spreads on the BBB CMBS, which is the commercial mortgage-backed securities, have moved up, as you can see, to 1,351 BPS, the widest level in over a decade. And I'm surprised it hadn't gone higher, because we know commercial properties in this country are in trouble. We know BlackRock and a bunch of the other big firms are hoarding cash, just waiting to buy this paper for nickels on the dollar. So again, if rates stay high, if the economy continues to slow, then yeah, you're dang right. You're going to see defaults, unfortunately. Now, of course, another reason could be because the yield curve, right? What's happening? It's uninverting, and this is when you got to start paying attention. Again, it takes quite a while for this 2-year, 10-year, once it uninverts and steepens like crazy, to go into recession. But the last 3 times it's done it, didn't let us into a recession. But it's still, you're talking about anywhere from 6 to 18 months, somewhere in there. So this could be another reason you're seeing this. And again, I've showed you all the bankruptcies of these companies that are continuing to go up. More real estate companies that own commercial properties, they'll end up going under as long as they keep these rates like they are. But of course, what are you hearing a lot now in the market? And before we continue, guys, please hit that like button there at the bottom. Give it a thumbs up. Helps people find the video. And if you like this kind of content, think about subscribing. I appreciate all you guys' support. They're going to pause. They're going to pause, right? They're going to do no more rate hikes. Why would they say that? Here, one of the Fed presidents came out today, and one thing that helped pump the market was, at least they use the news for this, is he said, oh, we don't need any more rate hikes. Now, mind you, that is a non-voting member. Okay, I don't know why they interview non-voting members. If you don't have a say in it, just be quiet. But again, that's what he comes out and says this morning, like 10 o'clock, I think. And of course, the market's like, woohoo, And so you're hearing a lot of this pause stuff, right? A lot of this pause stuff. And as one of our members pointed out just a few minutes ago, I think you got a 10-year bond auction going on tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And so remember, the Treasury is still going to be selling a boatload of bonds. So we'll see, again, how that's going to affect yields, because that will affect the market for sure. Now, the cliffhangers. Here's what we were looking for. Remember, on the S&P, we were looking to see if we could get that head and shoulders right there and go ahead and negate that by breaking the neckline. And, of course, it came above the neckline, but then it ended up selling back off and filled the gap about halfway right there. So the question is, if PPI comes in crazy, are we heading up here to like 444, or are we going to head down there around 433? That's really what you're going to look at, right? Now, when it comes to Tesla, you can see right here it broke out of this wedge, exploded out. Remember, when you see a stock in this kind of pattern, you're going to see an explosive move, either down or up. This happened to be up. And when we look at this, I keep adjusting this thing. I had this line straight up, right? So I just got to kind of pull it back here and adjust it. But again, we're still in this channel right here. So I'm going to keep it up here, keep playing it out, see how it goes, whatever. Again, I really thought we were going to that trend line right there. We got about maybe 1% off from it. But then the market rolled over, and so did Tesla. So down it came. And the big question is it going to continue to sell down? You got, pretty nice support right there, around like 261 right in there. So we'll see if it goes ahead and fills this volume gap right here. And maybe gets a bounce right there off of the bottom of that channel line. Again, a lot of this will depend on how they want to use the economic data tomorrow. But again, one of the dumbest things I've seen right here is UBS. And this is what I'm talking about with manipulation. Here they end up decreasing the price target for Tesla from 290 to 266. Make no mistake about this. 30 days ago, they raised it from 270 to 290. Like, I mean, come on now. Really? Is somebody loading up on the short, or somebody needed this stock to go down so they can load up even more? I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, 30 days later. Now, Amazon, again, same formation saw on Tesla. Boom, there's the explosion we talked about. It moved up. Thought it was going to the moon, of course. It ended up running into the 100-day moving average and the resistance right there. And, of course, they ended up running to the market rolling over on it. But again, you pull at the moving averages. If you don't know why something stopped, pull at the moving averages, and you'll see most of the time it's probably hit a wall like that because they can act as resistance, right? Support and resistance. And we'll see if it's going to come down. I'm going to keep that trend line in place, just like I did with Google when it broke below it to move up, because sometimes it can act as support now. And so we'll see if it come back down and get a bounce off of that. Then we have Meta, of course. We talked about yesterday. If it breaks this trend line, it's going to fill this gap really fast. So what happened? It filled the gap really fast. It was one of the strongest stocks of the day for sure. Congratulations to anybody that was in calls on this one, because they made a boatload of money on this one. And you can see right there, that's all-time highs way to the left over there, okay? So still got a lot of room to go up. But if it can break over 327-ish right there, then yeah, this thing could absolutely explode, because again, the air is thin up there, because that is all-time highs over there, and a lot of bullishness on Meta. We'll see if that continues or not. Now, when you look over here at Google, again, that trend line now is support right there, and hopefully that's not a double top. I don't think it is. No, I don't think it's a double top, but you can see it's in this gap right here. So we'll see if it continues to fill into this gap. This is going to run around 140, 141 before it hits resistance again. If it breaks above that, to the left is all-time highs, and it's not very far off. A lot of people have this projected to go between 160, 180. Some people call this a cup and handle right there. If you put it on the weekly, you can pull it up yourself, or you can look at the daily and say, it kind of looks like a cup and handle. So if that did play out, you'd be between 160, 180. Again, a lot of AI hype on this one. Now, Microsoft, here's another one. If it gets ready to try to explode out of this formation, again, it's going to be a 5% move up to fill this gap. Most likely will happen very quickly. Again, it ran to the 100 and that trend line. And so you got resistance sitting there. It looks like around 335 right there. Once it breaks out of this pattern, if it does per se, so I'm not going to, say it is, but if it does, keep that in mind. And you got a lot of these big stocks that are breaking out, right? AMD obviously broke out its wedge. Then it broke this trend line right here, breaking above it, going into that huge zone right there. Again, what happens? It sells off. And again, this is more news driven, and it talks about how, they're going to be competing with NVIDIA with their MI300A chips, I believe it is. Microsoft is their largest customer. They also have contracts with Meta and Google as well for these AI chips and stuff. So, and another one was the purchase they're going to be making of open source AI software. And so again, they're trying to capitalize on this AI hype, this AI train and stuff. And so, a lot of people try to get into that one because it's a cheaper version than NVIDIA. A lot of people just can't afford NVIDIA, so they're looking at AMD as that secondary, right? Which sometimes it doesn't hurt to go with the secondary, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. Now, Airbnb, watch this one because it's kind of new, but it got the bounce off the 200. It looks like the momentum's starting to swing here. So if that MACD gets over that zero line, RSI continues to move up and gets over the 50, and it breaks through that resistance right there, that trend line right there, which was support. Watch out for Airbnb. Now, you might have noticed, Chinese stocks, super green today. I wonder what could have happened. Could China come out with some news, or was it based off fundamentals and the stocks look really good? I think it might have been more stimulus talk. Oh, look at that. As I told the members, yes, it was. So China is planning a new stimulus as the economy continues to worsen. China is also planning to raise at least another $1 trillion in, what is that, yen, won, whatever the heck it is. I don't know what that is in American dollars. What is it, like 137 billion or something in stimulus. And again, stimulus trumps everything. So that's why they're green today. So, congratulations to anybody holding on that one right there. watch out for semiconductors here. You see AMD breaking out. NVIDIA's looking pretty hot right here. And this is SOXL, the 3X leverage bull ETF for it. And you can see, again, this one looks like it wants to break it right there. We'll have resistance right above it, around 22 bucks. But if it breaks out, it's only because NVIDIA and AMD and the other semis continue their breakout. And you can see right below it is that trend line right there, which it did hold going back to October. You can see that was support. You kind of get right below, but then it was able to bounce. So again, if this breakout continues, that obviously means semiconductors are still going to be hot and big money's moving into it. Now, you look at Shopify, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, or maybe even just last week. That 50-ish area, right, between 49 and 53, it loves it right there. It still has not filled this earnings gap that it had when it gapped up. And so, again, this one's moved from 50 to 55 now. And when we look at this one, bringing the moving averages, it is above the 200. So the 200 did hold. It will have the 150 to contend to it there, around 60 probably dollars. It's going to end up being some resistance for it, so watch out for that. And then a clearer view is right here. If we pull off the moving averages, you can see, you know, you're going to hit it around 58, and then you can go to 62 though before you start hitting some heavy resistance. Now Palantir, again, war is good for when it comes for a stock like Palantir, right? So again, it has continued to move up, and it's coming into this area we talked about right there. And if it can get through there, like we talked about, it'll come through it like hot knife through butter and move up to like 24, 25. It continue to move like this. So I hate to say it, I mean, the longer this stuff drags out in the Middle East, I think the better Palantir is going to actually do. Even though I know it's horrific, but again, these kind of stocks like Lockheed Martin and the rest of them, this is how they make their money. And again, Palantir does other things, I know, but this is one of the things. It doesn't work for our military for nothing, right? Now, one thing to look at with Palantir, if it does move up and can help move up, is those gaps, right? So you have 1, 2, 3 gaps that are still unfilled right there. So just keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to PPI, like we talked about, you'll get some mortgage data coming out. Nobody cares about that. What everybody cares about is PPI. So core PPI is supposed to be unchanged, right, from prior to forecast. Year-over-year core PPI, look at it. It's supposed to increase 0.1%. Then you got regular PPI. That's supposed to drop from 0.7 to 0.3 month over month. And then year-over-year is supposed to stay the same. So the bar is extremely low, right? I mean, extremely low here. As long as don't come with some crazy number, you can guess how the market's going to react. Again, though, you got inflation data, CPI, coming out the very next day. So again, it's going to be volatile. I said this last week when we talked about October. That's just the way it's going to be. How many of these swings have you seen? Anywhere from 0.5 to 1% moves midday, right? And so usually if we start off red in the morning, you see the swing back up. We start off green, and especially if we're coming into like those resistance levels and some certain gaps, you've seen the swing down. So overall, though, you see the big mega caps, a lot of those are breaking out, which is bullish. And another thing, like I told members in their video, go pull up the equal weighted ETF for the SPY and the QQQ and see what happened today. It's something you have rarely seen in at least the last 24 months for sure. And so, that could also be a positive thing for the market. So if you're looking to go up, make sure you go look at that and you'll see what I'm talking about and stuff. So, I saw some other stocks that were green that usually hadn't been getting much of a bid. So just keep that in mind. So let me know what your prediction is for PPI tomorrow. You think it's going to come in, as they thought it was, or we're going to come in like super red hot and the market's going to go, oh my goodness. And if it does, yields will spike. That's why to go down, because if it comes in hot, yields are going to spike. Watch. And so again, let me know what you guys think. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Appreciate all you guys who watched and everything. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night.